Colleges set many of these students up for failure. They get placed in schools for which they are not prepared, and high black dropout rates confirm this view.
This is so necessary to say.
Every single day, someone of prominence on the left, a politician, a cable news host, an entertainment figure, accuses someone on the right of being a racist. Here are typical examples. MSNBC host Chris Matthews said this: "The age of Jim Crow managed to find a new habitat in the 21st century Republican Party."
That was kind of aggressive. Okay. Firstly, I don't understand. Let me not say that. I'm going to rephrase what I was about to say. To call an entire party, and right now, the 21st century, the equivalent of the Jim Crow era, is not only insensitive, it's incompetent, to say the least. Because do you know what the Jim Crow era's effect on the African American people were? Do you know what that effect were? Those were when people were getting, I don't want to go there, but those when people were getting sprayed by hoses, bitten by dogs, beat in streets, their houses, cars set on fire. And the fact that you're saying that is the equivalent to the 21st century Republican Party. Okay.
Comedian Seth Meyers told his late-night audience that Republicans traffic in open racism. Tennessee State Representative London Lamar, a black woman, announced that the entire state of Tennessee is racist, period. This was just after she was elected in Tennessee. The left calling the right racist isn't new. It's been going on for decades. Republican presidents Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush, his son George W. Bush, were all accused of being racist. And of course, from the left's perspective, racist is essentially Donald Trump's middle name.
And that's something that I've heard too, that narrative that Donald Trump is racist. I've heard that a lot, and it was so bad to the point where, and I'm not even saying he's not or he is, but this is just what I've experienced, that you just assume he is without even knowing why. You just think he is. And that's how brainwashing really works, or that's how a subconscious bias really works. You would have a thought deep down or an inherent belief, and if someone were to ask you, why do you believe this? You can't even present information which caused this belief because it's not even your belief. It's something that was imposed on you by a higher person, as a person who's in a higher capability than you, or on the media, or whatever. But that's interesting.
To call someone a racist is a very serious charge. A racist is a person who believes that one race is inherently superior or inferior to another. It's not intelligence, character, or values that determine an individual's worth. It's his or her skin color. To say that racism is foolish and stupid, not to mention evil, is to understate the case. But according to most Democrats, Republicans are that stupid and that evil. So let's examine some conservative policies to see if they are indeed racist. If they are, then the left has a valid complaint. And if they're not, then the left is lying. The long-standing conservative opposition to affirmative action is a good place to start. It was Democratic President John F. Kennedy who in 1961 first used the term affirmative action. But affirmative action in the way we think of it now wasn't implemented until 1970.
And here's my thing. In a world where minorities are being treated unfairly based off of race, which we all know, or at least I hope you know, is a world that did exist at a point, right? I think everyone who watches my channel knows that, because that's just common sense. Affirmative action would make sense, because there were institutions at a point where if a person was black, you were not coming to their school. That obviously happened. However, when it comes to now, and you look at affirmative action and more, now it's not even called affirmative action. There's a new phrase, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which from its words, I kind of agree with. I think we all should be inclusive to each other, but maybe the practice is a little weird. Anyways, affirmative action made sense at a point. That's all I'm saying. But it's 2024. I think, at least from what I've seen, black people, white people, Asian people, mixed race people, or biracial can pretty much all do the same thing. So it's just a little weird now, but let's continue.
During the administration of a Republican president, Richard Nixon. The theory was that, because of historical discrimination, blacks were at a competitive disadvantage to other races and ethnicities. To erase that disadvantage, standards that most blacks presumably couldn't meet had to be lowered. One could make the case that this policy had some utility when it was first put in place. But that was a long time ago. The conservative position is that blacks have repeatedly proven they can compete with anyone without the benefits of lower standards. There are countless examples of black success in every field at every level. The policy is no longer necessary. But the conservative argument goes further.
He's making a lot of sense. He's making a lot of sense. And he actually said something I said. At a point, it definitely made sense. Definitely, without a doubt. But when someone in society says, even if you agree with affirmative action, or even if you agree with diversity, equity, inclusion, if someone in society says, this should not exist anymore because black people and white people, usually in this discussion, other races are completely ignored, they're completely ignored. So let's just talk about black people, white people. If someone were to say affirmative action should not exist anymore, diversity, equity, and inclusion is racist because it gives black people an unfair advantage now, if someone says that, they can actually make an argument because nowadays in our day-to-day society, there are no restrictions based off of race. There aren't. But what people like to do is they like to demonize people who say affirmative action may be racist or that DEI may be racist. They're completely demonized. Whether or not you agree or disagree with them, you have to at least acknowledge that what they're saying has some validity. Maybe if they were saying this in the 1960s or 70s, okay, maybe that person should be demonized. But if someone's saying that now, you can't deny that it can be some validity to their statement.
Study after study shows that, in the case of college admissions, affirmative action hurts more blacks than it helps. By lowering admission standards for blacks and some other minority students, colleges set many of these students up for failure. They get placed in schools for which they are not prepared. And high black dropout rates confirm this view. How could it be otherwise? If academically unprepared white students were admitted to Ivy League schools, they too would be set up to fail. Conservatives believe blacks and other minorities are every bit as capable as whites of succeeding as engineers, surgeons, policemen, businessmen, lawyers, and college students. And therefore, lowering standards for blacks is unnecessary as well as insulting. Yet for this belief, conservatives are called racist. The irony, of course, is that those who accuse conservatives of being racist believe blacks and other minorities are not as capable as whites of succeeding and therefore still need affirmative action, almost a half century after it was first implemented.
This is so necessary to say. I don't do these videos. Of course, I want them to be entertaining and I want them to be funny or just so you can watch it. But I really want people to learn from when I'm saying this, because if you're a black person, don't listen to people who tell you that you are less capable because of your skin color. Don't listen to people who tell you that you cannot achieve anything that you want because of your skin color. Don't listen to people who tell you that this world was not made for you to be successful, because they're full of it. It's a lie. It's a lie. I don't care who they are. I don't care how much you love or respect them. Don't listen to anyone who even puts this idea in your mind. The fact that you're in this country and you have the ability to wake up every day and chase your dreams is enough sign from God that you can achieve anything. The reason I'm saying this is because there's this narrative going around that black people are underprivileged in society, that they deserve or they need extra help. And this narrative does a lot of harm, because although some black students or black kids may hear this and take the extra help and they may achieve great things, some will hear this and automatically believe that they are naturally inferior to other races. Some will hear this and grow to disdain or resent other races. And if you think I'm lying, it's happening right now in society. All you have to do is pick up a phone and go to any social media site. Just pick one. But let's continue this video.
Let's look at another issue where this contrast between conservatives and those who accuse them of being racist is even more starkly drawn. Voter ID. Conservatives say America should require every voter to present an ID when voting, just as European countries do to help keep their elections honest. Are all these democracies racist? Of course not. Yet the accusers say that conservatives who support voter ID are racist. Why do they say this? Because, they argue, it's really a ruse to prevent blacks and other minorities from voting, since many of them just aren't capable of acquiring an ID. Can you get more condescending than that? Let's be real. You need an ID to drive, to fly, to buy a beer, even to purchase some cold medicines. Whites can do it, but blacks can't? Tell me again who the racists are? One more example. It's conservatives who push for school choice, which would allow all parents, not just wealthy ones, to decide where their children attend school. Tuition vouchers, charter schools, these are conservative initiatives. Those on the left fight these reforms at every turn. It's the left that doesn't trust minority parents to select an appropriate school for their children. Why aren't the people who keep black children in failing schools the racists? At some point, maybe you'll start asking yourself like I did, who's really obsessed with race, the left or the right? And whose policies really hurt blacks? Maybe it's not who you think it is. I'm Derek Green of Project 21 for Prager University.
That was a good video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. For Jojo,